So what happens when you get scammed and the scammer just vanishes? How do you legally get your stuff back from a ghost? Today, we're diving into a really fascinating legal case that kicked off with a stolen Jaguar and ended up creating a super powerful rule for exactly these kinds of situations. This is the story of the Caldwell principle. I mean, let's break it down. You've been conned, right? You want to hit the brakes, cancel the whole deal, get your property back, but the fraudster is gone, disappeared. How on earth do you legally undo a contract with somebody you can't even find?
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the dodgy deal for the Jaguar itself. Then we'll get into the weeds of the legal headache of a vanishing buyer. After that, we'll follow the high-stakes race to cancel the contract, see how this landmark Caldwell principle came to be, and finally, we'll explore why this old case is actually a huge deal in our digital world.
Okay, let's kick things off with our main character, a man named Mr. Caldwell, and his absolutely beautiful Jaguar. He thought he was just making a straightforward sale. Little did he know, he was about to walk right into a legal mess that would literally change the rules of contract law. And this whole scam went down in a flash, less than 24 hours. So on January 12th, Mr. Caldwell hands over the keys to his Jaguar for what he thinks is a perfectly good check. But by the very next morning, he finds out that check is completely worthless. And just like that, poof, the buyer and the car were gone. And this, right here, is the central problem. Mr. Caldwell has clearly been defrauded, and he wants to undo the sale. But the one person he's supposed to tell, this character Norris, has deliberately made himself impossible to find. Now, the official legal word for undoing a contract is rescission. And you can just think of it like a giant rewind button. The whole point is to put everybody back in the exact spot they were in before the bogus deal ever happened. For Mr. Caldwell, that means one thing, getting his Jaguar back. But, there's always a catch. And this is the legal wall Mr. Caldwell slammed into. See, the rulebook says that to cancel a contract, you have to tell the other person. But how do you tell a ghost? It created this totally bizarre catch-22. I mean, does a scammer actually get to keep your stuff just because they're really, really good at hiding? So now, Mr. Caldwell is in a flat-out race against time. He can't get in touch with a fraudster, so he has to figure out some other way to make it known that this deal is off. He knew every single minute that passed made it more likely his car would be sold to some innocent person, making it way, way harder to ever get back. And he didn't just sit around and worry. Nope. He took immediate action. First, he told the bank about the fraudulent check. Next, he went straight to the police and officially reported the car as stolen. And then, he even called up the Automobile Association to get the word out. These actions were his way of shouting from the rooftops, "This deal is dead, and that is my car." But, and this is a huge but, here's the twist. Before anyone could track down the car, our scammer, Norris, sells it to a used car dealer. That dealer then sells it to a company called Car and Universal Finance. Now, these guys were a totally innocent third party. They paid good money for the Jaguar, thinking it was a completely legitimate sale. And this sets up the ultimate legal showdown. You've got Mr. Caldwell on one side, the original victim of the fraud, and on the other side, you've got this finance company, an innocent buyer who did absolutely nothing wrong. So the court had to decide who gets the car. And that very question led to a landmark case, Car and Universal Finance Co. versus Caldwell. The court's decision here was going to create a brand new exception to the old rules, a principle that, believe it or not, we still rely on today. The court's ruling here was just a masterclass in common sense. First, they asked, did Mr. Caldwell's actions actually count as canceling the contract? And they said yes, absolutely. Reporting the theft was a clear public way of saying the deal's off. Then they asked, did he have to tell the fraudster? And the court came back with a hard no. You can't let a criminal profit from their own dirty tricks. And that meant the contract was officially void before the car got sold to the finance company. The final call, the Jaguar belonged to Mr. Caldwell. And right there, that decision gave birth to what we now call the Caldwell principle. And it's actually simple, but it's revolutionary. If a scammer makes it impossible for you to contact them, then a clear public act showing you want to cancel the deal is good enough. Basically, the law says your actions can speak for you when the other guy refuses to listen. So why are we still talking about a stolen car from, over half a century ago? Well, because the idea it established is more important right now than it has ever been. Look, the Caldwell principle is like a shield for victims of fraud who act fast. It confirms that taking every reasonable step you can think of has real legal power. And just think about how that applies today. We live in an age of online scams, crypto fraud, anonymous profiles, where bad actors can just vanish with a click. This principle gives victims a fighting chance to get their property back, even when the scammer is just a ghost in the machine.
When you boil it all down, the Caldwell principle makes this incredibly powerful statement about justice. The law will not let someone benefit from their own wrongdoing. You can't just hide behind a wall you built yourself and then claim victory because no one could get a message to you. It just doesn't work that way.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to chew on. Back then, Mr. Caldwell went to the cops and the Automobile Association. In our world, the world of digital scams, what would those reasonable steps even look like? Reporting it to a crypto exchange? Filing a report with an online fraud unit? Maybe even blasting it on social media? It's the modern version of the exact same problem Mr. Caldwell faced, and understanding his story is how we start to figure out the answer.